Hari Om. Suvarna Bhagini, you can start chanting.
धन्यवाद। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब मनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः। नेक्स्ट प्रपन्न पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधना बोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः श्लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पीपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुल्लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति ये योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Om Bhagini, Dhanyavadaha. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ Param varishtham brahmishtham paramanandarupinam paramarthanandayatim sadgurum pranatosmyaham. So in these two verses, the second and third of the 13th chapter, Lord Krishna is presenting the entire teaching of the Upanishad. A teaching which is very subtle and profound. It'll really help if you keep the chart or the list of 6 terms that was introduced in front of you, because it gets very confusing otherwise, right? So a teaching which is extremely subtle and profound, and students should try to understand this message by going through several stages, and which we were trying to do right in the last class. So the first stage is understanding that our body mind complex by itself is inert in nature, because it is made up of the same matter as that of the wall and other objects. Now, even though this is made up of matter, and the desk is also made up of matter, right? The desk or the table, right? I experience a profound difference. The desk is not conscious of me, but I am conscious of this desk. Therefore, the body is enjoying consciousness, right? Or sentiency. And thereafter, we have to try to understand the nature of this consciousness, right? And that alone Swamiji presents in the form of 5 features, right? And many times we have seen that also. So consciousness is not a part, product or property of the body, and it is an independent principle which is all pervading, and it enlivens the body. So even though consciousness is intimately associated with the body, it is not part of the body, right? Like exactly like what example? This is a beautiful example. Just as moonlight is immensely, intimately associated with the moon, and though we call it moonlight, in fact, it is called and everybody knows it as moonlight, but it is not actually moonlight, right? It is an independent principle, and even if the moon is eliminated, the light will continue, because it is not the light which belongs to the moon. When the light continues, it's not manifesting as moonlight, right? It is an independent principle, right? And exactly like moonlight, which is separate from the moon, the consciousness in my body is very intimate with the body. So for those of you who have not caught on, moonlight is actually in a way sunlight, right? So the moonlight is borrowed light, and it is separate from the moon. And exactly like that, the consciousness in my body is very intimate with this body, but it is an independent principle. So the separation of consciousness from the body is the first stage of Vedantic inquiry. Then you have the second stage, right? So the second stage is, just as consciousness is there in my body, it is there in every body. So just as the light is there on the moon, very important subtle point, the light is there in other planets, on Earth also. Now, imagine when Neil Armstrong actually landed on the moon, they could experience the Earth rise. When they experienced the Earth rise, Earth was also as bright as moon. So if we were residents of the moon, we would have called it Earth light. But the truth is what? Even though the light is on the Earth, it is not of the Earth. Just as planets and satellites have got light pervading, consciousness is in every living being, right? That is the second stage. In every living being, there is consciousness. Then the third stage is that there are differences in the bodies of every individual. There are differences in the mind. Bodies are different, right? We see that. And even our sense organs are different. Some of us wear thick glasses, some of us wear thin glasses, some of us don't wear any glasses at all, right? So the consciousness, however, is the same in everyone, right? So the second stage is one and the same consciousness is in everybody, right? Kshetrajnaha is the same. Kshetrani are different. We saw Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha in the last class. Okay. So Kshetram are many. That's the bodies, the world, everything. Kshetrajnaha, this consciousness is the same across everybody. Right? Kshetre vedaha santi, Kshetrajne vedaha nasti. So thus one uniform consciousness is in every body. Right? Then in every living being, consciousness is there. But not only that, consciousness continues to be present in between the living beings also. Mind-boggling concept, okay? Not only consciousness is in this body, right, or in another body, between these two bodies where there is a gap also the consciousness continues. We don't recognize the consciousness because there is no body to manifest it. But there also the consciousness is there, right? What is the example? Now, you might be sitting in front of a computer or a mobile, okay? Now, between the computer and you, there is an intermediary gap. You don't experience the light, but what is the truth? The light happens to be there in between also, right? So when you place the hand, you can experience it, right? In the middle, you don't experience the light, not because it is absent, but because there is no medium to reflect, right? Or manifest the light. So similarly, Lord Krishna says, between two living beings also, Chaitanyam is there. But that Chaitanyam is in between, cannot be recognized because the manifesting medium is absent, right? So this is the third stage, okay? First stage is consciousness is in me. Second stage is consciousness is in everyone. Third stage is consciousness is in between also, right? So therefore we cannot say consciousness is in the living being alone, right? The right expression, we have to change the language. We have to say all the living beings are existing in one all-pervading consciousness. Instead of saying space is in one hall or space is in many halls, we have to reverse the statement and say all the halls are in one all-pervading space. All rooms are in one all-pervading space. This consciousness is not in everyone, but everyone is existing in one infinite all-pervading consciousness. Therefore, Kshetrajnaha is Brahman. This is called Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. Consciousness in one person is called Jivatma. The all-pervading consciousness is called Paramatma. So both of them are one and the same. Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyam is the final stage. Okay. So therefore, we were seeing the verse 3. Lord Krishna said, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vitti sarvakshetreshu bharata. This is the fourth stage, the last one, right? Last and the most profound and most difficult is, we will say, consciousness is there in me. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense organ. There is consciousness in me. That we will say. That will be our approach, right? Because we take ourselves as the body, right? Male, female, etc. Therefore, our general thinking is I am the body and I have consciousness. But the final stage is reverse. Instead of saying I am the body and I have a consciousness, we should try saying, at least we must try and tell, I am the consciousness and I have a temporary body. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. Verse 22 of the second chapter, we saw Lord Krishna says the body is like your, right, your dress which will come and go. You are not the body. with consciousness. You are the consciousness with an incidental body, right? So the once you come to the fifth and final stage, instead of saying Jivatma is Paramatma, I can say I am Paramatma. Aham Brahmasmi, the culmination of all the spiritual sadhanani. It may take days, weeks, months, years, Janma, Shrishti, but the culmination is Aham Brahmasmi. So this is the travel from Asato ma Satgamaya, Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. When I take myself as the body, I will have to say I am mortal. The moment I understand Aham Brahmasmi, I have traveled from mortality to immortality, right? Ignorance, tamasaha, to knowledge, right? And untruth to truth. This is the spiritual journey which Lord Krishna has condensed in these two shlokas. And Lord Krishna says this knowledge alone is the real knowledge, because this alone will remove your sense of insecurity. And as long as I'm a mortal individual, the sense of insecurity will never go away. As babies also, we were insecure, right? And we can try to get out of insecurity by developing a few relationships. But with the new relationships, the insecurity increases instead of decreasing, right? So earlier we were afraid of ourselves. Now we are afraid of spouse, children, in-laws, grandchildren, etc. That's the only difference, right? So therefore, Vedanta says any amount of acquisition, you can never travel from insecurity to security, right? You will travel from insecurity to multiplied insecurity, because now you have investments, you have house, right? You have land, so you have to protect all of them, right? So, oh Lord, Asato ma Satgamaya, from ignorance to knowledge alone, right, will take me from insecurity to security. What is this ignorance? I am the body, and the knowledge is I am Atma. Therefore, Lord Krishna says this knowledge alone is the real knowledge, right? And therefore, it is really very, very profound, whatever we are going to, learn in this chapter, right? So we are going to expand just this in the rest of the chapter, right? So this is a very, very important shloka. As I told you, this is a Mahavakya shloka. That is why I put this with blue stars, so that you can remember this. Continuing. Takshetram yaccha yadricha, takshetram yaccha yadricha, yadvikari yatascha yat, yadvikari yatascha yat, sacha yo yat prabhavascha, sacha yo prabhavascha, tatsamasena me shrunu. Tatsamasena me shruno. Here Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, in the previous two shlokas, I have defined Kshetram and defined Kshetrajnaha in one line. Body is Kshetram, the experiencer is Kshetrajnaha. I have presented it in a sutra form or in a aphoristic form, right? Now I would like to expand that concept slightly more, right? So, Yat Tat Kshetram, right? I gave you only a sample specimen of Kshetram. The physical body is not the only Kshetram. In fact, the entire cosmos is Kshetram only. Kshetram means the field of experience. Therefore, what I gave as a specimen in the second shloka, I would like to expand. Therefore, Yat Tat Kshetram. I am going to tell you what the expanded version of Kshetram is. Condensed version is what body is Kshetram. Expanded version is entire cosmos is Kshetram. So I will talk about it. Yadrikcha, and I will also talk about the nature of Kshetram. Yadrika means then what is the nature, right, of Kshetram or matter. And when you study the entire universe, what you observe is everything is continuously changing. Why? Because that is the nature of matter. And since everything is continuously changing, whichever material was there in one condition yesterday, that will exist in a different condition tomorrow, right? So And condition 1 and condition 2, right, yesterday's and today's, will be from the standpoint of the later condition. The previous condition will be cause, and whatever is the later condition, it will be effect. So if tree is the cause, fruit is the effect, and thus today is the cause, tomorrow is the effect, right? Tomorrow will be the cause and day after will be the effect. Thus the entire creation is a continuous flow of cause and effect, karya karana pravaha. Okay, and what we all did a few years ago, that is the cause for our present day life. The way we misused our health, the habits, etc., is what will affect in the health today, right? So because the previous few years, whatever we did is what is going to have an impact on what comes later, right? So this, the whole creation is a flow of karana karya pravaha, and therefore yad vikari, whatever is the cause and effect which will fall within the kshetram, all of them will fall within kshetram. And kshetrajna, the consciousness principle, does not undergo any change. So kshetrajna is karya karana atita or karya karana vilakshana, whereas kshetram is karya karana antarbhavi. So matter is a flow of cause and effect. Consciousness transcends cause and effect and even time. So in Narayaniyam, which is written by Bhattadri, there is a very famous shloka. The first shloka itself starts with Sandra Nandava Bodhatmaka Kanupamant. Actually, I don't know Narayaniyam well. The very first shloka, right, starts with Sandra Nandava Bodha. So in that, what the author says is, oh Lord, people think of you as a finite human being, right? But they don't know your real nature. You are nothing but avabodha, means kshetrajnaha, chaitanyam, avabodhatmakam. You are pure, chaitanya swarupaha, kala deshavadivyam nirmuktam. You are beyond time and space. And I love to worship you where? In Guruvayur, right? So, Desha Kala Atita Bhagavan, we invoke within time and space because of our ignorance, and our intellect functions only in that space. Okay. So, Kshetrajnaha is Desha Kala Atitaha. So, Yad Vikari, what are the causes and effects are within Kshetram. Then Yatascha Yat, from which cause, which effect comes, that order also. All of them, Samasena, I will present in a comprehensive manner. May you listen to that, so that you know what is Kshetram and what is Kshetrajnaha. You will not mix up and mess up the entire samsara. We hold on to the changing Kshetram. In fact, the world has got beauty, novelty and variety, but it does not have security. And I think I've mentioned this many times. Swamiji always says, like having a dip in the Ganges. Now, if you don't hold on to the chain, you know what will happen. But if you hold on to the stable chain and then take the dip in Ganges, you enjoy the Ganges dip, the bath also, right? But you are holding on to the stable chain. The stable chain is Atma or Brahman here, which is consciousness, which is the stable one, right? The world you use for enjoyment, right? For beauty, variety and novelty, right? So expecting security out of this world, that is wrong expectation alone, which creates samsara, and then we are disappointed, right? Use the world for vyavahara, never use the world for security. Kshetrajnaha represented as Bhagavan, right? So that is why world dependence to, right, God dependence to self dependence is the spiritual journey. So discovering God is the as the very self in within me, right? That is the final, right, spiritual journey, right? So if anybody asks, or you yourself have this doubt as to who is your security, the best shloka that you must remember is the 22nd one from chapter 9. Ananyas chintayanto mam ejana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So it is very apt that the Life Insurance Corporation of India has chosen Yogakshemam Vahamyaham as their tagline, right? So those people who see me as non-different from them offer worship by dwelling on me, and I take care of the yoga and shema of those ever steadfast ones, right? So practice saying that God will support me all the time. I don't need anybody else in the mind, right? You don't need to tell people and offend them or make them feel bad, right? So anyway, yatascha yat, right? These are all the features of Kshetram. Sacha yo yat prabhavascha, and also I will comprehensively talk about Saha meaning Kshetrajnaha, which has been briefly defined as the experiencer of the body, and yat prabhavascha, right? And what are the glories of the Kshetrajnaha, right? Tat samasena me shrunu. May you listen to that so that you know what to use the Vyavahara world for and what to use for security. This difference, if you don't know, life becomes a problem. Continuing. Rishibhirbahudha Geetam, Rishibhirbahudha Geetam, Chandobhirvividai Pritak, Chandobhirvividai Pritak, Brahmasutrapadaishchaiva, Brahmasutrapadaishchaiva, Hetumadbirvinishchitaihi, Hetumadbirvinishchitaihi. Lord Krishna says that teaching, I have this particular teaching that I presented briefly and which I am going to elaborate in the following shlokas. They are not my own personal teachings. I am only an avatara. I am come in Dwapara Yuga. Before Dwapara Yuga, you had Treta Yuga. The creation existed long before me. This teaching has been there from beginningless time, and this teaching, even though it is the most beautiful and useful teaching, people think that it is only meant for sannyasis who have no other work to do. Very sad, right? People think that it is meant for post-retirement time pass, right? And nobody in their working age group comes to this, but this is a very practical and useful knowledge to have because it helps us address our day-to-day issues, right? Whether it is family, society, profession, any of them, right? So I have got the wrong expectations from several quarters, and daily I am disappointed because I expect one type of response from everyone, and when I get a totally different type of response, I'm disappointed every moment. So if we know this is the nature of Kshetram, we will not be disappointed. Therefore, it is required for everyone, not at the fag end of the life, but early itself. This knowledge is useful. But unfortunately, people are busy with materialistic pursuits, and this teaching at regular intervals basically becomes feebler and feebler, right? So that's what Lord Krishna says in the 4th chapter of the Gita. Hey Arjuna, this teaching nobody is interested because all of them have become materialistic. So in Mahabharatam, this conversation took place when about 3000 BC, 5000 years back. Then people were materialistic. Krishna is talking about it, right? And they don't have time for spiritual pursuit. So Lord Krishna says, I am only trying to revise this teaching, or revive, I should say, this teaching which has been there before. In what form? He says, Chandobihi Vividaihi Geetam, right? So the teaching is there in all the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. In all these Shruti Pramanam, this teaching has been there. Vedic teaching is not just in 5000 BC. Remember, like even before that, it is not just 5000 years earlier or something. It must, some say 8000 years, some say even beyond that. Nobody knows the date of the Vedas, right? So it is Shruti Pramanam is what the rishis heard from the atmosphere, right? So the teaching is there, and Rishibihi Bahudha Geetam. It has been talked about by several sages, right? And in their own works, and the most famous work being Yoga Vashishtam. It's a great work written by Valmiki Maharishi. Valmiki has written Ramayanam of 24,000 verses, and another great work, Yoga Vashishtam, and 34,000 verses in that, and it is called Yoga Vashishtam because it is a dialogue between Vashishta and Rama. Even now it is available. Yoga Vashishtam is now available. Great rishis have written commentaries for that. This book has got 34,000 shlokas and a written commentary also. Therefore, Vyasa Acharya, here he says, here saying, Rishibihi Bahuda Geetam, great sages have given this teaching in the Smriti Pramanam, Shruti Pramanam, etc. Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva, right? These great works like Brahma Sutra, it's a unique work, right? In which not only the teaching is presented, very, very interesting, it is logically defended also, like in a PhD thesis, right? Not only where I submit the thesis and thereafter there is a day when I have to defend, and then I have a Viva OC where many people will ask you questions, scholars, etc., right? So I have to defend every point. Similarly, Vyasacharya has written a great work called Brahma Sutra, which has 4 chapters. All of them are in aphoristic forms called Samanvayadhyayaha, the first Adhyaya, right? And that is exactly the Samanvayadhyaya is the first one. And then the second one is called Avirodhadhyayaha. It is defending the teaching in a logical fashion. Let anybody raise any logical question. Any other religion, the religions or the darshanas that were prevalent at that time, the different darshanani, he has analyzed and established that this teaching is logically also sound. It is not based on blind faith. Therefore, Hetumadbihi, through logical analysis, Vinishchitaihi, well defended and ascertained through Brahma Sutra Padaihi. Brahma Sutra has 555 sutras in 4 chapters, and each chapter has got 4 padas, right? So totally 4 chapters and 16 padas are there. 555 sutras are there, and 192 topics or adhikaranams are there, and everything is thoroughly analyzed. Subjects like creation, what was the first element, that what is the first element that came, second what came, etc. And not only creation and other subjects, we've all this extreme elaborate discussion on what happens to the jiva after death. Where does the jiva travel? What are the names of those places? Who are the devatas who are like the pole bearers who accompany the jiva? All of them, and how all does the jiva travel? Finally, how does it come back? Right? Everything, right, is described in such great detail in these 192 adhikaranams, right? So maybe at some point in time, if you all graduate, go past Upanishads, you can listen to Brahma Sutra also by Swamiji. Okay. So he took 9 years to complete Brahma Sutra classes. Around 390 or 400 classes are there. Okay. So let's continue. Mahabhutanyahankarah, Mahabhutanyahankarah, Buddhiravyaktameva cha, Buddhiravyaktameva cha, Indriyani dashaikam cha, Indriyani dashaikam cha, Panchajendriya gocharaha, Panchajendriya gocharaha, Ichcha dvesha sukham dukkam, Ichcha dvesha sukham dukkam, Sangata chetana dhritihi, Sangata chetana dhritihi, Etat kshetram samasena, Etat kshetram samasena, Savikaramudakridam, Savikaramudakridam. So, as promised in the 4th shloka, first line, Lord Krishna gives the expansion of the entire kshetram, the material world, by presenting the cosmology based on our scriptures. Right? Cosmology is a science of the universe and its evolution. It's a very big study and it's an ongoing study. Different theories are coming, right? And recently also we saw lot of new theories coming up, right? They keep on improving on the theories. And of course, we have all studied the Big Bang theory and gradually how the cosmos evolved. And they talk about 1/1000th of a second what happened, in a millisecond what was the condition, etc. Then after 1 second what happened, after 1 minute what happened. They also have a chart how the material burst, how the planets came, etc. Right? So Sankhya Yoga philosophy has got its own cosmology, and Nyaya Vaisheshika has its cosmology. For those of you who are wondering what Sankhya Yoga, Nyaya Vaisheshika are, if you could revise the very first session of Introduction to Vedanta, you would be able to relate to it. They were the other darshanani which were famous at that time, during the Gita time, etc. Right? Even up to Shankaracharya's time. So Sankhya Yoga philosophy has cosmology, Nyaya Vaisheshika has, right? And they all come under Kshetram. So Lord Krishna here presents the cosmology according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Vedanta has got a particular theory which we studied in Tattvabodha, right? Under the creation topic or introduction to Vedanta, if you go to the creation chapter, creation session, maybe it was the 9th or 10th session maybe, there you will get a particular kind of creation, the steps involved, etc. Here Krishna is talking about Sankhya, and we actually saw Sankhya earlier. I think in the 4th chapter we'll see that, right? So Lord Krishna presents the cosmology according to the Sankhya system here, right? And in Vedanta, we saw that Brahman along with Maya will form the Pancha Bhutani, right? And from Pancha Sukshma Bhutani, the Sthula Bhutani comes, right? We saw that very elaborately. We saw in the introduction to Vedanta, right? So now in chapter 7, class 2, sorry, not 4, 7th chapter, class 2, this same subject, Sankhya based creation, was talked about. Okay, so the 7th chapter obviously was many months back, so I'm sure you know we might have forgotten, maybe last year, right? So we actually had a chart there, if you remember. I have just rearranged the chart, and the first one, right, is the Avyaktam or Prakriti, right? From there only evolution starts, right? So the first one is Avyaktam or Prakriti. It was referred to as Prakriti in chapter 7. You might remember Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti and all we saw, right? So Apara Prakriti is Maya, okay? So the pre-evolution condition called Pralaya Avastha is called Avyaktam, right? Avyaktam means unmanifest form of matter and energy, right? Energy also has not manifested in its full-fledged form. So Avyaktam, the first stage of evolution. The second stage is called Mahat, or in this shloka, it is called Buddhi. Buddhi is a technical term. It does not refer to our individual intellect. This is talking about the second stage in cosmic evolution at macro level. Therefore, Buddhi is a technical jargon. So Avyaktam, then Mahat, then the third stage is Ahankara, right? Ahankara. This also you should not take as the individual ego, but it is again a cosmic stage at the macro level. It is called Ahankara. So Avyaktam, Mahat, Ahankara, right? So you can see the flow of the Karana, Karyam, right? Both. This is Karanam as well as Karyam. This is also Karanam as well as Karyam. Okay. So now from Mahat, right? So from Ahankara in the fourth stage, we are going to get 16 items, right? So parallelly from Ahankara, we get 16. What are they? Number one is Manas, right? So first is Manas, which is born out of the Sattva Guna of Ahankara. You must remember this, Sattva Guna of Ahankara. Then you have the Pancha Jnanendriyani and Pancha Karmendriyani, together referred as Dasha Indriyani, coming from where the Rajoguna aspect, right? And then from the tamoguna aspect of ahankara, the pancha sukshma bhutani arise. So 10, right, plus 5 plus 1. So this is 10, this is 5, and this is 1, that is 16. Okay. Right? And then from the pancha sukshma bhutani, the pancha sthula bhutani evolve. Okay. So that will be another 5. So 16 here, 16 here, 5 here, and then 3 here. So 16 plus 3, 19, and 19 plus 5, 24, and therefore they are called the 24 tattvams according to Sankhya philosophy. Okay, so they are like building blocks. So the 24 tattvams are the building blocks, and in the 6th shloka we just entered, we will see this now. Okay, so avyaktam in the shloka refers to stage 1, buddhi refers to stage 2, right, and ahankara refers to stage 3, right? So stage 1 avyaktam, stage 2 buddhi, in the shloka it is referred to that way, and stage 3 is referred to as ahankara, right? So then mahabhutani indriyani dasha, and ekam refers to manas here, right? And then the panchaka indriya gocharaha, right? So the fourth stage, they are not discernible by the sense organ. This one is discernible by the sense organs, indriya gochara, because they are sthula bhutani, right? Therefore they are referred to as indriya gocharaha, right? So vayu, agni, jalam, etc. So sthula bhutani are called indriya gocharam. Thus 24 tattvams come under kshetram. So in the next shloka, in the 7th shloka, Lord Krishna points out that all these 24 tattvani, they have got their own attributes. Okay, so everything in the creation has got their own attributes and properties. So all these attributes Lord Krishna calls vikaram, or their modification. Because kshetrajnaha, see, kshetram is endowed with modification, whereas we must always remember that kshetrajnaha does not have any attribute, it is not subject to any modification. It is what? It is adrishyatvam, abhautikatvam, nirgunatvam, nirvikaratvam, anagamapayitvam. Right? These are the, I would say, these are the features of consciousness or Atma. Therefore, all the modifications and attributes belong to Kshetram only. So, Lord Krishna wants to take some sample attributes, right, or modifications that happen in our mind, right? So, mind also comes under Kshetram. Because mind is a subtle form of matter only, all the emotions that happen in the mind are also Kshetram only. That is why by giving chemicals, we are able to change the emotional mood of the person. When a person has sodium deficiency, lithium deficiency, etc., the mind is first getting imbalanced, right? They are connected very much. So that is why we know that even through medical thing, we know that mind is not, it is though it's a Chaitana Tattvam, because it has been blessed by consciousness, by its original nature, it is only matter or Achaitanam, right? So there are no emotions in Atma, the Chaitanyam. The emotions belong to mind matter. That is what Lord Krishna is saying, right? So all positive and negative emotions belong to the mind matter only. Okay, that's a question which I'll take later. Okay, so all positive, negative emotions belong to mind only. Atma is free from emotional conditions also, right? So a sample list is given here. Now this list is borrowed from Nyaya Shastra, right? 6th shloka we got the idea from Sankhya. Now 7th shloka he borrows from Nyaya philosophy, some of the internal conditions like what? Icha meaning raga, dvesha meaning hatred, right? That's why during deep sleep state, when the mind is resolved, we have neither raga nor dvesha, no attachment, no aversion. So icha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, pleasure, pain are all mental experiences, and the experiential pleasure which comes at times and which goes, the arriving and departing pleasure and pain belong to kshetram only. So when we say Atma, the Kshetrajnaha is Ananda Swarupa, right? Where there we talk about another type of Ananda which is not subject to arrival and departure. Non-arriving, non-departing Ananda belongs to Kshetrajnaha. The arriving, departing, experiential pleasure belongs to Kshetram, right? Very important. So Sukham, Dukkham, etc. belong to the body-mind complex only, right? The Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira complex. Sangata, then Chetana. Chetana means we have to remember an idea which we have discussed before. Even though body and mind are inert by themselves, and even though they are made up of matter only, they are capable of reflecting the Chaitanyam or consciousness which belongs to Atma or Kshetrajnaha. This consciousness reflected in the material body is called Chetana or Chidabhasa. You must remember, Chit, the Chaitanyam, when it is reflected in the body, it is referred to as Chidabhasaha. Okay. Now, I don't know whether you all remember Vishwa Taijasa Prajna, right? The corresponding reflections in each of the Sharirams. Here, Krishna doesn't talk about it. We saw that in detail in Introduction to Vedanta. Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna being the reflected consciousness in Stula, Sukshma and Karana Shariram. Collectively, they are referred as Chidabhasa here. Okay, Chetana or Chidabhasa, right? So, just as we have got original light in the sun and reflected light in the moon, right? Original light and reflected light. Consciousness also we divide as OC and RC. RC is the consciousness reflected in the body-mind complex. So, Chidabhasa comes under Kshetram. So, Chetana, right, is what refers to Chidabhasa here, and Dhritihi, that is the final and most important one, means willpower or free will, right? Because of that only we have the ability to focus and get things done, right? So, free will expresses in the form of our choice to do things or not to do things. So every jiva has got a free will, but there is a difference that only the human jiva is able to exercise the free will because it is dormant in all the other living beings, right? So it only depends, only in human janma you are able to use the free will and direct your life, right? So the unexpressed free will is there in animals and other living beings. It will express when in some janma they take the human janma, right? So the free will here is called Dhritihi, which is also a part of Kshetram only. Therefore, Lord Krishna concludes, Etat Kshetram, this conglomeration is called Kshetram Samasena, in brief, Savikaram, along with its attributes or modifications, right? So Lord Krishna wants to enter the next question asked by Arjuna, right? So we saw Kshetra, we saw Kshetrajnaha in detail, Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha. Now Arjuna's third aspect, Lord Krishna wants to enter. Continuing. Amanitvamadambitvam, amanitvamadambitvam, ahimsa kshantirarjavam, ahimsa kshantirarjavam, acharyopasanam shaucham, Acharyopasanam shaucham Stairyam vinigrahah. Stairyam vinigrahah. 8th verse up to 12th verse, Lord Krishna enters into the next topic, which was asked by Arjuna in the first verse of this chapter. What was that verse? Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnameva cha Etat Veditum Ichchami Jnanam Neyam cha Keshava. So the word Jnanam, Arjuna had asked, Lord Krishna wants to describe that word Jnanam, and the Jnanam discussed here has a special meaning. As I said earlier, it is a set of moral virtues which every evamcha human being has to generate, preserve and nourish. So in Sanskrit it is called Satguna, divine virtues, spiritual virtues, moral virtues, right? So according to our Shastras, the virtues have to be generated, preserved and nourished by every human being, exactly like maintaining a garden, right? It is exactly like a gardening process. So if you have got an area for gardening, you can plant beautiful floral trees and then you get a joy, right? When the flowers are blooming. So you nourish them, you preserve them and you get that, right? So our mind has to be converted into a garden. So mental gardening is the generation of moral virtues. That gardening is a very, very rewarding exercise because it would have several intimate personal benefits because the mind is closest to us. So mental gardening naturally involves planting, preserving and nourishing moral virtues, and it also involves weeding out all those thought patterns which will obstruct the growth of these virtues. So this is required for all human beings according to Shastra. But for the spiritual seekers of moksha, this is extremely important, right? In what way these virtues are important? If you ask, if a person maintains these moral values, he can enjoy a mind, right? With these three useful faculties. Number one, a calm mind. Number two, an unpreoccupied mind. And number three, an extremely receptive mind. So a calm, unpreoccupied and a receptive mind is the most important instrument for a Vedantic seeker because Vedanta involves Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. When I listen to the Guru Padesha for 1 hour, what is the percentage that I am able to retain? Is it only 5 minutes that I am able to listen, or is it 10 minutes, or is it almost the entire time? Or sometimes within a short while our mind goes on a world tour and comes back, right? It happens. So to enjoy a calm, unpreoccupied, receptive mind, these virtues are very, very important. If I enjoy such a mind, then I can do Shravanam, I can do Mananam, right? Not only in receiving this knowledge, but clearing doubts and also in recollecting this knowledge, which is referred to as Nididhyasanam. Because this knowledge, right, that we gather is capable of giving great joy called Brahma Vidya Anandaha. The knowledge which is the knowledge of my Ananda Swarupam, right? So naturally I'll be happy about it, right? So whenever you invoke the Ananda Atma Jnanam, you can derive Ananda. But if you have to invoke the Gita wisdom, your mind must be available for that. So what is the complaint of most of the students, right? So what happens is when I'm listening in class, I'm able to understand that these are all important aspects, these are the facts, etc. But the minute the class is over and I come face to face with the Pancha Anatma, right? Body, mind, family, profession, possessions, right? Automatically, I just forget my real nature and go back to it, right? So it is very, very difficult for a person to continue in that, right? So I am not able to derive because all other things in the world is occupying the mind. Therefore, I am not able to derive any pleasure or ananda. Therefore, for practicing Nididhyasanam, right, a calm, unpreoccupied mind is required. So Shravanam requires a calm, receptive, unpreoccupied mind. Mananam requires, Nididhyasanam also requires, right? Imagine I have such a mind. The beautiful advantages during various situations in life, in prarabdham, it can bring several problems, family problems, professional problems, other problems. If only I got a mind at my disposal, which is a calm, unpreoccupied kind of mind, right? I can brush aside all those problems and I can invoke the higher nature, the Gita wisdom in me, and I can thoroughly enjoy and revel in that Purnatvam, right? So, in Sadhana Panchakam, Shankaracharya says, Ekante Sukamasyatam Paratare Chetas Samadhiyatam Purnatma Susamikshyatam Jagaditam Tadbaditam Drishyatam. Live happily in solitude and focus the mind on the God. See carefully the infinite self and notice how it eliminates this fleeting existence called the world. Through the power of consciousness, you can actually dissolve your past karma, remain unaffected by your later karma, and experience your present karma also in an equanimous way, right? So this is what Shankaracharya says in Sadhana Panchakam, verse 5. So Shankaracharya advises every Vedantic student, right? At will you will be able to withdraw from everything, invoke this knowledge and thoroughly enjoy. So in front of this Brahma Vidyananda, all the problems in life will appear small, right? And generally Swamiji gives this example very apt. There are millions of stars in the sky, and these stars are there during the day also, right? Night time they are available, but day and night they are there. Stars are there, right? They are always there, right? During the night time, all the stars are visible, bright and available. But the moment Surya Udaya comes in the presence of the powerful sunlight, what happens to the stars? They are there or gone. They're all gone, right? So in the presence of sunlight, they are not there. They are as good as having gone away. So because the sunlight has overpowered the presence of stars. So in Sanskritam, we say avivavaha. Nididhyasanam is a process by which I can bring in the sunlight called Brahma Vidya at will in my mind. And the moment the Brahma Vidya Surya is invoked in the mind, whenever you want, wherever you want, under any circumstances, right, when you're facing various problems at any of the Panchanatma levels, right, they're all like stars, right? So as many stars are there, those many issues are there, right? So in front of that Brahma Vidya, they become like stars in front of sunlight, right? So Matras Parshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukhadukkata Agama Payino Nityaha Tanstitikshasva Bharata. So even Rama could not escape, Lord Krishna could not escape Prarabdha, right? They went through painful situations. But Brahma Vidya, if you know that, it is like Surya. Ajnani enjoys the advantage of invoking the Surya, in whose presence all these problems will disappear. Thus, not only Jnanam is useful, the Jnanam will give me full benefit only if I can invoke this knowledge as Nididhyasanam at will. Especially when there are problems, if I should enjoy the facility to invoke that knowledge, mind should enjoy. It should have a calm, receptive and unpreoccupied mind, and I should enjoy such a mind. Then mind, when it fulfills these parameters, it is able to invoke the teaching at will, right? So basically that is what Vedanta says, that these moral virtues are important parallel parameters at the mental level, which will make the mind relaxed, calm, receptive and unpreoccupied. Therefore, if you want the full benefit of Vedanta at any level, Shravanam, Mananam or Nididhyasanam, these moral values are extremely important. Not during Shravanam only, but even afterwards. Therefore, Lord Krishna names them Jnanam. So we are going to get virtues here. Okay, they are enumerated. being important, Lord Krishna will again repeat in the 16th chapter. There it is referred as Daivi Sampat. Here, of course, he's just referring to it as Jnanam, right? And many of these virtues we may have, right? Some we have to plan, preserve, and nourish, and this all varies from individual to individual, right? I may have something that somebody else doesn't have. So, what is the most important thing? Never use this for assessing others. This person does not have this, that person does not have this. Never do that. This is just a self-assessment kind of checklist, right? I would say the values given here, right? Now we are going to see the list, right? And then we can discuss later. So the meaning of these virtues, first one is amanitvam. Simple and direct meaning is humility, not having superiority complex, pride, arrogance, etc. That is why this namaskara is very, very important in the Hindu culture, because we learn to prostrate to another human being and we don't treat it as something which is not correct, because some cultures have that, but we come from the Sanatana Dharma culture where namaskara is absolutely important and comes to us naturally, right? Therefore, in front of jnanis, in front of elders, in temples, etc., that humility is promoted through this. That is amanitvam, right? So this is at the mental level, not thinking that I am superior to others, because this thought can become an obstacle because of the superiority complex, right? It can become obstacle because of two reasons. First reason is, according to the 10th chapter of the Gita and 11th chapter of the Gita, whatever glory or virtues anybody has, they all belong to whom? Lord Krishna. Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam Shri Madhurjitameva va tattadevava gachatvam mama tejosha sambhavam. So the entire creation is the body of the Lord. All these virtues, everything, right? So even if somebody praises me, mentally I offer the namaskara to God immediately, right? The praise belongs to Bhagavan, right? We are only a pipeline through which we are, disseminating knowledge, or we are getting some acknowledgement or appreciation. Okay, so the second point we should remember is that even if we are superior to some people in terms of wealth or in terms of knowledge or in terms of skill, we should remember that I may be superior to many others, but remember I am also inferior to many people who are far, far ahead of me. So if I'm a state champion, then there is a national champion. If I'm a national champion, there is an Asian champion. If I'm an Asian champion, there is an Olympic champion, right? So therefore, whenever I get superiority complex, best thing to remember and move along with people who are superior to me, right? Very important. Now, if you have completed Gita, then you move with people who have completed Gita and Upanishad. If you have completed both, then you move with people who have completed Brahma Sutra. Then you won't get this superiority complex, right? So this is manitvam and amanitvam, right? Is a very important virtue, amanitvam or humility. The next one is adambitvam, right? So I'll stop here because this is a logical point, and we'll continue with the rest of the virtues in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Any questions? Some people say that Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 should be attended to during this time. Is that the reality? Because it is Pitru Paksha now. No, not necessarily. I don't know why specifically chapter 7. I really don't know what is the connection. Let me think about it, right? But Gita chanting in general is good anyway, right? So we can chant Gita at any time. So any other questions? You can raise your hand also, you can ask questions or you can type. Yes, please. Mohana madam.
Namaskara. Today was a very difficult chapter, and you rightly said that sometimes you can understand, some days it's so little to understand. And I was wondering, because of this lockdown, already my mind, it has not been in good shape. I don't know why today. So I was going to ask you, which is the chapter I should read just to calm me down? I go into all the arguments, like you say, I am not the body, I am the Atman, this doesn't matter, etc., etc. And I do fill my days with only studying and doing everything. But then, as a human being, there are days when I just can't cope up. This thing has been, because I have been a very outgoing person, and this lockdown has suddenly today has been a very difficult day. So then you aptly said that today has been very difficult for me. So I just want to know, there must be people like me also around in this world.
Absolutely. The most important is to keep ourselves motivated. Now, one thing is you can change routine on a particular day, and that helps. For instance, you could take up something totally new, right? There are lots of these small shlokas. Now, it can be Vedantic, it can be non-Vedantic. You can take up Sadhana Panchakam, which is just 5 shlokas, or you can take up, maybe you're not telling Vishnu Sahasranamam, so you can decide to open that and tell, or Shiva Manasa Puja. Just breaking the routine and doing something different. I talked about puja and I talked about, verses, chanting, or you can, appreciate the beauty of the Vishwarupa Darshana, right? Any of these, you can try and break your monotonous routine by bringing in something different for that particular day, and I'm sure it will help, because all of us go through this problem. One odd day we feel really low because there's so much of corona that we keep hearing about, right? So I think breaking that routine and doing something different, and if you're a meditator, you can try different types of meditation, which will also help.
Dhanyawad.
Anybody else? Yeah. So today's class, and actually all of 13th chapter is, very important Jnana Yoga kind of, teaching. Therefore, I would request that if you can keep this, the 6 terms that I introduced, Jnanam, Jneyam, Kshetrajnaha, Kshetram, Prakriti, right? All of them. You can keep it in front of you. It will be easy for us to, revise as we go through the classes. Okay. Dhanyavadaha. So next week, same time, we will meet.